Hello guys and welcome back to another class of our course about data analysis and data science, the complete introduction with the use of Python. So in today's class, we are going to have a complete introduction to the concept of data to understand what exactly is data, how it works, and this way you guys will have a complete knowledge about this subject. So let's jump right into it. So basically, what is data exactly? So data is the concept of data. It can be something really general. Your cell phone, for example, when you click on your cell phone, this could be considered as data. When, for example, you are using, I don't know, your GPS, where there is data there. When you're typing something on your keyboard, it could be data as well. Basically, how we can see data, it could be seen as statistical sets or facts that can be used for analysis. So basically, let's say, for example, you guys are walking outside and you are making steps. Those steps could be considered as data because they could be used to know exactly how many miles you guys are walking each and every day. Let's say, for example, we want to calculate how many steps we need to do per day to be able to stay healthy. Well, the steps that you guys do each and every day can be counted to be able to say that, for example, you guys have walked 1,000 steps and you guys are healthy. Well, we can make an average of everybody who is walking and say that, oh, okay, in general, on average, each person that walks 1,000 steps a day is a person that is healthy. Basically, not only steps, but as I said, it could be absolutely anything that can be quantified, but not only quantified because there are different data types that exist. We're going to talk about it a bit later. So principally, we can have numbers, as you can see here. We can have quantities, informations, measurements, facts, observations, graphs as well, but graphs, I see them more as a visualization tool because they allow us to see the big picture. So let's say, for example, we're talking about those steps as well. So how many steps you're making a day. So you will be able to visualize how many steps you guys are making per day with the graphs. Another thing that is very important to understand with data is that it have to fit four big things. First of all, it has to be able to be collected and stored. So basically, all types of data need to be collected and stored. So if it can be collected and stored, well, it's not really data. Second thing, it has to be measured. So basically, the data that you collected, you can be able to measure it. So you can be able to measure it numerically or with any type of measurement. You should be able to analyze this data. Once again, you should be able, if we're talking once again about our steps, this can be considered as raw data. So this is really raw data. And those steps, we can analyze them to, let's say, for example, know how many steps someone who is healthy is walking. But we can analyze it once again, and instead of having this conclusion, we can calculate, for example, on average, how many steps each person makes per day. On average, how many persons per day are walking at least 30 minutes a day, for example, once again. And we can do a lot of analysis with all this. And finally, your data should be able to be visualized. So once again, those steps, you can visualize them on a graph or on any other tool that can be used in data analysis to visualize things, let's say your conclusions. So in this case, we can visualize our steps on graphs. So let's say day 1, the person walked this amount of steps. Day 2, this person walked this amount of steps, etc. So basically, this is for data. The second thing that we are going to talk about today would be the types of data, because once again, this is a huge part of our data part. So types of data, there are two principal categories of types of data. We have the qualitative ones, or the categorical. Basically, it's the same thing. And you also have the numerical or quantitative data. So basically, the first type of data, which is the qualitative data type, is not really, there is like no numbers in it. You can't really measure what's inside of it with numbers. And the numerical or quantitative type of data is really all about numbers. So let's see what it all looks like. So the first type, as I said, would be the categorical one. And inside of the categorical one, we have the nominal and the ordinal data. So for the nominal data, basically, it's pretty simple. It can be used to label variables without providing quantitative values. So once again, let's say, for example, you receive a questionnaire where they ask you with what you prefer to write down, with your pencil, your pen, I don't know, a Sharpie, for example, or any other answer. Once again, you can't quantify the answer. You can only qualify this answer. For example, the person answers with a pen. So, okay, the answer would be a pen. If we say the number of pens, the number of persons that prefer writing with pens, this would no longer be a nominal data. The nominal data would only be the pen. The number of persons that prefer writing with pens would be another type of data in this case. Second thing, it could be, for example, another example that we have here. Let's say, for example, your favorite animal. This could be, once again, another type of nominal data. Why? Because, well, in this case, the animals, you can't quantify them. And once again, there is no numerical value to it. And another really important thing to understand the difference between nominal and ordinal data is that the nominal data is not ordered, but the ordinal data is ordered. So let me explain it differently. So for example, if we take our first example, which would be, let's say, do we prefer writing with a pen or a pencil? If I choose pen or if I choose pencil, there is no order between it. It could be a pen, it could be a pencil, it could be a Sharpie. All the answers are the same, but ordinal data would be a bit different. For example, let's have an example of ordinal data. Let's say, for example, I'm asking someone, do you like this type of exams on a scale of, let's say, for example, bad to excellent? So if the person doesn't like it, well, the person will say bad. If the person likes it, the person will say excellent. And as you can see, there is a certain order between those, those emojis. Here we have emojis, but it could be, for example, things like don't like, okay, fantastic. There is like a certain order. But if we ask someone the difference, if they prefer a pen or a pencil, or if they prefer a dog or a cat, there is not necessarily a difference between those. There is not no difference between one or the other variable. So we can't really see the difference. For us, it's pretty much the same thing. So this is for our categorical parts of data. As you can see, the main characteristics of those data is that they can be quantified, and they are really about qualitative, about quality. So it's really about qualifying something, not really quantifying something. All right, let's jump to the second part, which would be numerical and quantitative data. So basically, in those types of data, we have two types of data, which looks the same, but are very, very, they're not really different, but they're pretty much the same thing with some subtle differences. So for the discrete types of data, basically those would be complete numbers. So let's say, for example, it won't be an infinity of possible numbers. For example, let's take the age. The age of someone could not be, for example, 1.55349. For example, it will be 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old. The height of someone will be, for example, 1 meter 10 centimeters, 1 meter 80 centimeters, or 6 feet, or 5 feet 5. For example, it's something that is not infinite. For example, once again, for example, right here we can have sample versus consumer. Once again, here it's something that has an end. If we're talking about continuous data, so once again, just for you guys to understand, this would be a point on the graph. So there is nothing. For example, let's talk about the cost versus number of tickets. If I buy one ticket, it's gonna cost me, for example, $20. If I buy 2 tickets, it's gonna cost me, in this case, $40. But I can't buy, in this case, 1.3 tickets, which in continuous would work. Because, for example, in continuous, you will have another thing, which would be, in this case, pound versus cost. And in this case, you will have, let's say, for example, there is an infinite possibility. So basically the difference between discrete and continuous is that in the discrete type of data, you don't have an infinity of possibilities, because right here, for example, we can have the age versus the height, and we have points, and those points are finite. So there is an end. So for example, we have age number 1, age number 2, age number 3, age number 4. In this case, it's different because we have an infinity of ages. even if we have complete numbers, we have an infinity of ages. We have, for example, 1.345 years. If you guys get the point. So there is an infinity right here. So this is why we can see that there is, well, the line right here, that's a straight line. And here we have points. So that's the main difference between discrete and continuous type of data. So we have the discrete type of data. As I said, it's really finite, and the continuous type of data that could be considered infinite in the way that, for example, after the comma, so it could be, for example, the age of someone would be 30 years, comma, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 year. Once again, that's just an example. So this is for what is data part. So right now, guys, you understand what exactly is data, how it works, the different types of data. So in this case, we talked about numerical quantitative data as well as categorical types of data. So I hope you guys understand all those concepts. As you can see, it's pretty simple until now. If there is anything that you guys don't understand, don't hesitate to simply rewatch this class, because once again, this is pretty simple. It's only the basics of what exactly is data. So that's it for this class, guys, and see you all in our next class.